great relief that everything went according to plan, that it all went according to the script, that there wasn't an angry man, an angry demonstrator to be seen. Now, the flame arrived on a special Air China flight earlier today here in Beijing. There were a couple of hundred school children at the airport there to greet the flame as it arrived. From the Beijing International Airport, it made a quick trip to Tiananmen Square. All of this was closely guarded by heavy security, and it was also shrouded in secrecy just what was going to happen. And in fact, at the last minute, Games organisers changed all the arrangements for journalists who were meant to be covering this event in Tiananmen Square. You may remember it was a week ago in Greece when some accredited journalists from Reporters Without Borders interrupted the lighting of the Olympic flame. The Beijing officials were determined that nothing like that would happen here. As I said, it all went off without a hitch. China's President Hu Jintao was the man who lit the Olympic torch from the Olympic flame, and Liu Shan, the gold medalist in the 110-meter hurdles at the Athens Games, he's a national hero here. He was handed the Olympic torch, and he was the first torch bearer in this massive Olympic relay. It's 130 countries, 85,000 miles across 5 continents. And for the first stretch of the relay, it should be fairly problem-free. It goes to Kazakhstan from here and then on to St. Petersburg. The problems, though, will most likely come in London, where Free Tibet groups have said that they will hold demonstrations along the route of the Olympic torch relay, and then also to Paris, the same situation, a warning of protest too in San Francisco, also in Canberra as well. And after it goes all around the world, it finally gets back to China. It will then go through another 100 or so cities across this country before ending up in Beijing on August 8th, and then August 6th rather. It'll be in town for a couple of days, and then finally on August 8th, the flame in the National Stadium will be lit, and that will mark the start of the Olympic Games. And by the time the torch relay finally gets back to Beijing, the Olympic officials here will again be breathing a sigh of relief. Sasha?
John, you talked about the collective sigh of relief there, and also the massive security operation that was underway. Was there any sign at all, any indication at all of any kind of Tibet protest?
Not a one. No one. Zilch. Zero. How can I say it? Nothing to be seen. I mean, this was clamped down like you could not believe. In fact, if you looked at those pictures at Tiananmen Square, which is a sprawling piece of real estate right here in the heart of Beijing, thousands and thousands and thousands of people can cram into that square. But if you weren't invited, if you were just an ordinary Joe average citizen here in Beijing, well, you were basically told, go away. Only those who were specially invited to attend this ceremony were allowed to go. Police were checking bags. They were even confiscating bottled water. Security was incredibly tight, and they were really taking no chances that this would be disrupted. And as we say, that will not be the case once the torch leaves their very, very tight control, Sasha.
And I guess, John, this is highly significant, isn't it? Because this is basically China telling the world, look, yes, we can cope, we can keep everything under control, the Olympics is going to go ahead. Yeah,
look, so much has been put on the Olympic Games, and what we're seeing now with the Olympic torch relay, we're really into the home stretch before the Olympics actually kick off in August. So China is very mindful of the fact that the world is obviously watching. They want the world to watch, but they want to control what the world sees. They want the world to see these kind of images, cheering people and celebration and music, a lot of pomp and circumstance, that kind of thing. What they don't want the world to see is what we've been watching over the last couple of weeks, especially even in Athens in the last 24 hours when Greek officials handed over the flame to Chinese officials. There were scuffles and protests in Athens between pro-Tibet demonstrators and police, despite 2,000 police who'd been deployed in Athens to try and contain this kind of thing. 21 people were arrested there. At the same time, though, there were thousands of Chinese and Greek spectators who were cheering the Olympic flame as it was handed over. So it gives you an idea that certainly there's a lot of support, there's a lot of happiness, there's a lot of pride for many here in China, but it is being dogged by a lot of controversies, not just on the issue of Tibet, but on other issues like China's involvement in Darfur, for example. So this is problematic for the Chinese, and they are going to have to be prepared to deal with this, and how they do that will be very interesting in the weeks ahead, Sasha.
And John, we've seen pretty amazing pictures coming from Tiananmen Square throughout the morning of that ceremony unfolding. But what about the atmosphere and the mood in the rest of the city? So people, if you like, beyond that cordon of the main square?
Well, business as usual really for the rest of the city because, to be perfectly honest, they weren't invited. They weren't really part of this ceremony. So if you look at the traffic out the window, the cars are still going, people have turned up to work. I guess a lot of people are seeing this any way they can on state-run television. But there is still the excitement here and a great deal of nationalistic pride. And that's manifesting itself in another front, in the sense that anybody who dares criticize China on any issue, be it Darfur or Tibet or whatever, there's a lot of defensiveness, and anyone who criticizes this country is sort of being denounced, if you like, among many here in China on the internet, in the state-controlled media, and that kind of thing. So there's really two sets of emotions, if you like. There's the pride on the one hand, there's the defensiveness on the other.